Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, right? Well, the topic here is the solar system, right? Clarifying why traditional science can't explain it. Yeah, but before that, I just wanted to remind you about modularial science, which is what? Just the interlacing of what? Of modular waves, right? So, is there a physicist here? Anyone who studied physics or is a physics teacher? In physics, these modular waves are known as what, folks? Background radiation. It's connected to string theory, okay? So there are all these patterns there. This is related to the patterns of nature, okay? But yeah, these patterns dictate what we will be, right? How we think, how we act, and whether we'll succeed or not. What do you mean whether we'll succeed or not in our things? Guys, the waves modulators that govern all of this interact with animated and inanimate objects, right? And things, people, and so on throughout the whole system, right? Inside and out. And it's in everything intertwined among us. Among things, it connects everything, okay? We can even call it an electromagnetic mesh, okay? And it has a frequency of 0.3, or rather 3 hertz per second, all right? Do you, by any chance, remember any object, any monument around the world that generates this electromagnetic frequency, this wave pulse? There's only one object in the world, one monument in the world that's been built, and you all know it. Maybe you just don't remember. What is it? The Pyramid of Saqqara. Saqqara, the Pyramid of Saqqara, right? It produces this electromagnetic energy. Even today, even though it was looted and destroyed, it still produces it, okay? And there are several other people or various other objects around the world that can reproduce this energy through resonance, all right? And there's something else that proves our connection to this energy produced by the pyramid. Is it really produced by the pyramid, though? No, it's spread, it's distributed through the pyramid of Saqqara because of its symmetry. Okay, it's distributed. So if it's distributed, then the pyramid doesn't actually produce it, right? So what is it that produces this energy? Do you have any idea? Cosmos? Cosmos? Yeah. Let's leave the gravitational waves spread throughout the system, okay? You all know that it produces, but we have not been told what produces this energy. And this energy is also in everything, among everything, in food, 3 cycles per second, 0.3, okay. Hertz. Yeah, our brain activity, folks, has the normal average is 14 cycles per second. Normal average, the way we are here, 14, 15, 16 cycles per second, 16 hertz, okay? The best value for a human being in a state of normal lucidity would be 30 hertz, not 14. 14 hertz, 12, 11, the laziest people, the most sluggish, their brain activity is vibrating at 10, 12, 11, the laziest ones. When you fall into depression, in a depressive state, it's 7, 8, you see. And that's bad, okay? If you do it in a coordinated way, great. But if it's above or below, we're talking about something else. 14, 15 is the normal for a human being in a lucid state like we are right now. If I'm going to push myself to pass a test or something, I might reach 17, 18, 20. I start speeding up my brain activity. I start producing more waves. Even so, it's not at 0.3 hertz, which is the synchronicity of the pyramid with this energy that emits this frequency, these pulses to us. When a person has a lot to do, they say, wow, how am I going to pay the bill? How am I going to do this or that? People are pressuring me, and so on, and they feel obligated. They're under pressure and forced to think harder, more intensely, and their brain activity goes up to 30, 40, 50 hertz, right? When they solve the problem, wow, it drops, goes back to 14, right? And that's how it is with everything in our daily lives. But when they got worried, got tense and all that in a negative way because they were under pressure, they still managed to find solutions to their problem, right? Afterwards, it dropped, went back to normal, it was over. They're not looking for solutions to the problem anymore. Yes, it was a negative frequency, but he solved it and got positive results. He managed to solve everyday problems. So, guys, humans have been led to stay at this 14 hertz frequency or lower. Why? They don't think, they don't solve, they don't create. If one channel is in rhythm A, another in rhythm B, another in rhythm C, the person has, well, they become schizophrenic. They have a tendency towards schizophrenia. But if all the waves are organized, coordinated, that's a genius. Those are the people who create, the people who solve anything that comes their way. And 30 hertz is the minimum average we should be vibrating at today, folks, the minimum average. So the global overarching standard for knowledge and human development is to induce people to vibrate at the absolute lowest possible frequency within a profound rationality so that they can truly think well. Folks, 0.3 hertz as well. Break time equals 0.5s / the very same identical frequency as our deepest thoughts. The inherent energy intensity of our thoughts is also precisely 3 cycles per second. This is the exact same frequency that is powerfully propagated by the ancient and mysterious pyramid of Saqqara. The same frequency that something up there emanates to the universes, to the cosmos. So what kind of energy is this? Who is sending out this energy? And is the pyramid of Saqqara the one propagating this energy? Just it? No. Have you seen many obelisks scattered around the world? In Egypt, they were the first ones. Then the United States and others went and looted Egypt and ripped out all the obelisks and started gifting them to each other. Why the obelisks? In Sao Paulo, we have them. Pradia, I don't know. I haven't seen here. In Sao Paulo, we also have an obelisk, right, at Ibirapura Park. Campo Grande too, and many other cities. Obelisks also resonate a bit of that energy, but if worked with, they can be tuned to either a negative or positive frequency. So you could end up tense all the time, crazy, out of your mind, in conflict, or you could be a genius, creating possibilities, writing and composing, coming up with solutions for the world, for everything. So folks, as long as humanity keeps vibrating at the standardized frequency of 14 hertz, 14 cycles per second, there's no evolution, forget about it. There isn't. We will be submissive to the impositions of the global system, okay, which are a bunch of factors, a lot of things. So just to make it clearer, there's been a lot of talk about emotional and sexual energy, the ABCs of life, right? Camila Mauro Diaz, right? Mauro Diaz, when we went to make the Convex Earth documentary, yeah, he had this mindset like, no, the Earth is round and that's it, right? Wasn't it Mauro Diaz? Paulo Paratu, another engineer, okay? People who were totally, inside the academic system, but they were the ones who weren't afraid to put themselves out there, to show their professional side, to share all their knowledge, right? Acquired in the system of a globular Earth, right? They said, no, it's fine. We don't believe it, but let's go. Let's see for ourselves. All right, folks, people who have a more open mind. So they definitely don't resonate at that 14 hertz frequency. Okay, guys, the global standard is 14 hertz and below. That's when you accept everything, you're influenced by everything, and you're easily swayed. So we only have 2 certainties. No, just one certainty. With this pattern, we have only one certainty. Yeah, the only certainty humanity has is that we're going to die. That's it. It's the only certainty we have. Or are you sure you're going to get rich tomorrow? Become a millionaire and super successful? Are you sure you're going to be a Superman? Are you sure you're going to have lots of friends or that you'll keep the same friends forever? No, the only certainty we have is that we're going to die one day. Okay. I'm not so sure about that anymore. So that's it. Guys, after we discovered so many things, we're not so sure anymore that we're going to die one day. Because it can be changed. We just have to break through, unravel, tear away the veil of ignorance. So here's the thing. As long as people keep themselves at the global standard of 14 hertz of brain activity, people have an intellectual limitation. They can't go any further. They can't be a genius for themselves. This is the standard imposed by the world leaders of the whole system. Why? They want ignorant people. They don't want people who think. People who think are a threat to the global system. All right, folks. So why am I bringing this up? It has nothing to do with the Earth system. Actually, it does. It has everything to do with it. Look, in my search for something I didn't even know what it was, which I think all of you have experienced, that urge to know what comes after life or what's beyond Earth, beyond the stars, what it's like out there, what tomorrow holds, what is the greatest wisdom on Earth. I started getting into all kinds of philosophies and ideologies that could offer me an answer, you know? So I was 8, 10, 12 years old back then. And the first thing I did was, well, try to find answers with friends and so on. But there were no answers for everything I was thinking about, you know? I was always really restless, okay? And I always had this strong desire to not be ignorant, to want to know things, you know? Curious. So, yeah, and that actually helped me a lot, even to this day. Okay, but what happened? Look, all of us, what I'm about to say definitely happened to all of you one day. Yeah, I started my religious search. I went to Catholic churches, Protestant, Assembly of God, basically every church I could go to. Okay? I wanted answers, but then at a certain point, there were no more answers. So I went to Protestant churches. I went to Saichanoai, all of them, Amorc, Rosicrucian, yeah, Freemasonry. Guys, I attended everything I could because I wanted to understand. I wanted to understand the mystery of the universe, the mystery of life, why we exist, where we come from, where we're going, you know, those things everyone is curious about, right? Yeah. Then I wanted more answers and I wanted to experience these things for myself. And besides the religions, I also took part in the Spiritist group there, Kardechism, you know, Allan Kardec. I think all of you here have probably attended Spiritist sessions, right? Kardechism, Andre Louise, and other more spiritual lines, right? And I said, well, and there were a lot of invitations to do little rituals, macumba, a bit of macumba, you know, magic, charms, prayers, and all that. I said, I want to see what it's like. I want to see how the universe works. I want to see how everything works. Okay? Besides the concrete things we see here, right? And I took part in it quite a bit, okay? I did my little macumbas, all right? Just like everyone else did. Or is there anyone here who hasn't? Yeah, charms, prayers, all that stuff. I said, okay, but that's it. It's over. I'm not doing it anymore. I want more and more. All right, so let's go. Okay, I was a minister in the Catholic Church for about 5 or 6 years in Maraba, Paulista, right? There was this priest, Father Jose. He used to say many interesting things, you know, and so on. And I kept asking, questioning. He said, look, my nickname then was Santo, now Urandir, right? I was Santo because I questioned a lot, wanted to know. He said, look, Santo, better you keep quiet. These questions you're asking, I can't answer. Better you leave the church. You're making people uncomfortable. Okay? And they kicked me out of the church. But before that, they performed 2 exorcisms on me to get rid of the possible demon that was living inside me, you know? So, yeah, and there's even more, there's still a whole lot more here, right? Today, there really is. So, guys, demons, after all that, after all of it, I took part in every religion I could, philosophies and all that. Guys, I love them all. We're not against any of them. A little macumba. Shall we do it? Want a charm? Shall we pray? Let's do it. Guys, prayer, it's the hour of action. It's not the time to just pray and stand still. No, it's time to act. Prayer, hour of action. But then we just stand there. Look at that interpretation. We just stand there praying to God, right? And we don't do anything. God's not going to do it for us. No. We have to act. We have to take the first step, right? So these charms, these little macumbas helped me a lot until one day, look at this, until one day they called me They invited me to something stronger, more, hey, now let's witness a ritual. I said, what? Yeah, first you have the offerings, the food, farofa, kachaka, and all that. And then we have a little animal there to be sacrificed. Me, okay. I thought it was just to pet it nicely and give it a little sniff. No, not that, not that. So there we were eating, drinking farofa, doing all that little macumba stuff of mine with my friends there. I said, look, now we have to sacrifice the animal. He said, what? They wanted to sacrifice the animal. I said, guys, we don't need to do that. So I set the animal free, right? I set the animal free and they kicked me out too. I left. Why? It felt like I could sense what the animal was feeling, like I knew it sensed the danger, that it was about to lose its life. That really bothered me. It was as if I was inside the animal. So I said, damn, what does that even mean? And I looked into other religions, philosophy, and all that, but nothing. So, all right, then I'll just settle for it. I'll die like everyone else. I'll grow up, be born, work, drink, get drunk, and wait for retirement, the coffin, the burial, and all that, right? That, folks, that's the only certainty humanity has, isn't it? Or do you have any other certainty? Maybe after today, you'll start to have a different certainty. Look, so here's the thing. We went searching for so many things. And even while researching, we went to several, space agencies, astronomical observatories, both amateur and professional and all that, but everyone had some kind of limitation. Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. That's not allowed. That's not allowed. Nothing was allowed. A lot was talked about, but nothing was actually allowed. Okay? Oh, this is just like over there. You go to NASA and they say, oh, you can take pictures, share them, publish them, but you can't go into that room, the one where all the images are processed. Just recently, some friends of ours went to the observatory in Chile, for actual research. When they got there, share this, come in, tell your friends, post it on Facebook. But then our friend asked, what about the data processing room? Can we look through the telescope? Oh, sure. So they set up the telescope. Here's planet ABC, a point of light, a point of light, a point of light. But what about those beautiful planets we see in pictures? That's image processing, a mathematical combination that results in those images. So the planet doesn't actually look like that. No, it's not. Got it. What about the processing room? Can we go in? No, you can't go in there. So folks, NASA, space agencies all over the world, we recently went to South Africa. We went to South Africa and Iceland, right, to do another part of the research. Yeah, the same thing. The astronomer who received us there was very nice, kind, and so on, but she couldn't show us like the others. You talk. So why post it here, right? So if we solve what? Set up our own astronomical observatory, and now we're going to transform it into a space agency. Then when we actually look through a good telescope, one that captures the background sky, that's when we found out why it can't be shown, why no one is allowed to look through it and see the background sky. Okay, we're going to talk about that in a moment, but let's keep going. Let's just mention one thing. This energy that interconnects everything, this Lilarial Science, yeah, they're two modulating waves, right, that modulate everything, as has already been explained, especially in the sexual aspect, right? The baby is already born being modulated. Guys, if a baby is about to be born now, if these glasses of flower water here have a vibration, it all gets intertwined in the vibrational field of the person, of the child being born. If someone is crying over there, that crying, that pain, that suffering, or that joy, it will also be recorded in the field of the person who is being born right now. As she said, if the energy is sexual, we really need to pay attention to the partner we're going to be with, because every time I interact with someone, it gets recorded in my aura 1, 2, 3, 10, 5 partners. Okay, 15, 20, right? So there are a lot of men who beat their chests. Oh, I went out with so many girls, and women, oh, I hooked up with so many guys, right? So this actually holds you back in life when it comes to the frequency of evolutionary vibrational energy, because you get contaminated by the aura, the energy, the good and bad things from all those people. And since the universe is full of more negative things than positive, the negative contamination comes along. Then later, oh no, things aren't working out. I don't have friends. Nothing goes right. My finances are a mess. She explained the percentage of the financial part. Okay, it's because you're filthy. My whole aura is a mess because I get involved with too many people. Until I figured all this out, guys, I had to cleanse my aura, my energy field like 200 times, almost with caustic soda. And I don't even know if I've gotten rid of all the dirt yet, but I'm trying to keep myself in line at the purest frequency possible. Okay? It's not about virginity or chastity, guys. It's not like it's like we can date and all that. But, it's just about knowing how to use sexual energy, the frequency, according to the modulating waves, according to the polarities. These modulating waves have polarity. So I ask you, do our thoughts have polarity or not? They do. Positive and negative. Why? Because we receive the influence of these modulating waves. But what the heck are these mod waves, these modu modulating waves? We'll get there in a minute. So if it interferes with everything, why does it interfere with everything? Guys, our body is what percentage water? 70%. The planet, 70% water. Yeah, everything vibrates. Objects, right? The more solid ones, depending on their density, some vibrate more, others vibrate less, right? But in our bodies, we have more water in our cells, right? In the same proportion as the planet. Very interesting, isn't it? Same proportion as the planet. So these modulating waves, yeah, they emit vibrations. The astrophysics folks talk about gravitational fields, background radiation, electromagnetic mesh, and so on, right? Everyone comes up with a name according to their own interests. But look what happens. They are modulating waves. It is the power of creation. It interferes with our thoughts. Our thoughts vibrate at the same frequency as it does. 3 cycles per second. You can get any specialist to do the electromagnetic measurement, and that's the result. Our thoughts are 3 cycles per second. But what if I'm really angry, really furious? It's still 3 cycles per second. And what if I'm calmer? It's still 3 cycles per second. It doesn't matter. Now, so it vibrates at that frequency. Now, you can work with that frequency, stretch it a bit more or less depending on whether you've managed to organize all the channels of your brain activity, which there's only one thing that makes us the controllers of our thoughts, our actions, and our results. To something that everyone has as fuel but has never used, or if they have, they didn't even notice. Okay, I've used it several times and I only realized it much later. So there's something we can do. We can modulate these waves, make these waves work in our favor, make everything I want happen, because desire is a creative power. Sexual energy is a creative energy. There's a way of thinking and generating certain things that interferes with these waves because they're on the same frequency. We're vibrating on the same frequency, but there's a catch. We've been conditioned to exercise our mind and our brain since we were born, in schools, in every area, so that we stay at just 14 hertz, not more than that. When I go to solve a problem, it gets to 20, 30 hertz, Because if you reach 30 hertz, guys, that's equivalent really to 3 cycles per second of those waves coming from outer space, from the cosmos. So do the world leaders know about this? Of course they do. That's why they've kept us modulated at a low frequency. They modulated us at the lowest possible frequency so you wouldn't go crazy, so you wouldn't become a parasite to yourself. 12 to 14 hertz, 16 hertz at most. So that's the frequency we vibrate at, right? But ideally, it should be above 30 because then you wouldn't be a parasite to yourself. You wouldn't be a parasite of the system. You wouldn't be a puppet of the system. You wouldn't be conditioned to believe in things you've never seen. You believe, okay, the main thing was gravity. I believe in gravity. Yes. Why? Because science says so. But why does science say so? Because it's written in the books. Okay, so is that it? Is that all? So I have to believe it just because of that? So Guys, it was through this search, these questions, right, that we managed to make a lot of progress, a lot, really a lot, right? And we're sharing it. It was because of this that we managed to discover the whole vibrational field, where today cancer, guys, is supposed to be cured. It's actually something very simple. There's a little cocktail, nothing much, that helps you get rid of any kind of cancer. If you do it right, no one will ever die from cancer, Alzheimer's, or Parkinson's, those 3 diseases, and it even prevents another 360 diseases. Okay. Later, we can leave the little cocktail here available for everyone. Okay? You never know, maybe you have a relative at home. Guys, if you do exactly what's going to be explained, none of us, no one will die from cancer, Alzheimer's, or Parkinson's. Okay. So based on these studies, right, when we set up the avascular observatory space, okay, with the intention of perceiving the solar system as a whole, right, we noticed a lot of anomalies, okay. And these electromagnetic waves, these waves, yeah, from science, which are an interlacing of everything. An interlacing of what? We're all intertwined, aren't we? For example, are you going to train positive or negative polarity? For instance, you look at me and think, wow, I like this guy. Others here think, no, this guy's annoying, crazy. Same for me. Look at that person's face, blah, blah. They seem nice. That other one, not so much. You get it? So, folks, there's no such thing as this attraction or repulsion between both people, animals, things, cars. Everyone sees 10 cars. One person likes car A, another likes car B. It could be the same model, but you just feel more drawn to one than the other, right? It could be 10 identical cups, but you're like, no, I'll take that one over there, right? So we have a stronger attraction or a stronger repulsion towards certain things, objects, or people. Isn't that right? All right, then. Yeah, so how can we weave all of this together? Okay, so going back to the search, this weaving together led us to that search I mentioned for those little rituals. I felt like I was in the position of the animal that would be sacrificed and all that. Then suddenly I said, guys, okay, so I've already been to all the religions and all as much as I could, and now I think it's something more about us. That's why we're searching, researching, and all that. And yeah, but there was a limitation, which I think we all have. Material, financial support in our pockets. Researching is very expensive. You need time because you have to work, clocking in from 8 in the morning to 8 at night, 7 at night, 5 at night, right? And still get scolded by your annoying boss, right? Who sometimes is annoying, sometimes is cool, and you have to clock in every day. Sometimes you have to take 2 or 3 buses, right? People in Sao Paulo, for example, sometimes have to take 5 or 6 buses, right? Subway and everything just to get to work. You get up at 4 in the morning to get to work by 8, and it's the same going back home, even worse during rush hour, which in Brasília, I don't really know how it works. But here's the thing, as long as we're worried about paying the bills, feeding a B or C, we're dependent on what? Money on the system. Will we have time to think? No. Guys, I only ever worked a registered job once in my life. Just 3 months at the company Andorinha. I said, what? Do I want this life? Just look, I just had to get up at a certain time. I was a fare collector, then I became a supervisor and all that. I said, what? Do I want this for myself and nothing in the future? How long am I going to work like this? Look at this. So am I just going to become a bum? No. How long am I going to work like this? But like, I won't have time to do anything for my own life. I'll get home already worn out, 6 in the evening, 7 in the evening and all that. Sure, I might even go out with friends and all. But so what? Where is that going to take me? Guys, we work our whole lives. Where did we end up? Where did we get to? Nowhere, absolutely nowhere. Oh no, but I have a lot of money. I'm retired, blah, blah, blah. So what? So what? You're going to die just the same. You're going to, the coming days are the worst because you'll get sick and your kids won't take care of you past a certain point because they have their own lives. You won't have friends to help. And you might even end up in a nursing home or something like that, just waiting for death, waiting for your time to come. Guys, that's humanity's fate. Is that the fate you want? And I don't want that. I've already crossed that off. I've already erased that from my map. So I worked for 3 months and then I quit. But they even said, but wow, you did a great job. You're already a supervisor. You can't leave the company. I said, no, I don't want that for myself. No. Good luck to you all on leaving. Guys, I never worked as an employee for anyone ever again. I tried to start my own businesses, buying and selling, all that stuff. No, I'm not lazy. I don't just sit around. Sometimes at night, I go to bed at 4 or 5 in the morning. Okay? I get up the next day and all that. So what happens? I created my own worlds. I created my own sources of income. Okay. Was it hard? It was really, really hard. Okay. Because during the research, when it got into the area of, observing the sky, and we made the mistake of talking about anomalies that physics and the physical world can't explain, unidentified flying objects. That's when the world came crashing down. Came down on us like a machine gun, We were getting hit from all sides just because we shared the possible presence of extraterrestrials in our system. It was a barrage of defamation and persecution. We had a piece of land there, and they said we were selling land on the moon. If not even the astronauts have been to the moon, how are we supposed to sell land on the moon, right? So, and that's how it went. And it went on for about 5, 6, 7 years. It really left a mark. We were persecuted. Yeah, there were a lot of tricks, to try to accuse us of that. Why? We found something out, folks. Yeah, religion, well, not religion. This whole thing about global ufology is like a fifth power, Everyone knows that someone got here before we did. Everyone. There's no way to hide the phenomena happening in the sky today all over the world, because we all have a cell phone in our hands and we can film these phenomena. Isn't that right? So there's no way for the space agencies. They're forced by the government to hide things and only say what they're told, There's no way to hide it, so they say that they're evil, that they abduct, kidnap, that they kill humans, dissect them, and all that stuff. Guys, it's all lies. None of that is true, okay? But yes, we do talk about the presence of extraterrestrials or mysterious lights all over Brazil and the world. We witness and film this every day here in Brasília. Here in Brasília, if you look up at the sky today, you'll see different things. Just look at the sky. It doesn't matter what time it is. Okay. The thing is, everyone is afraid to show their face. Everyone is afraid to say they saw something because you end up being considered crazy, nuts, and all that. Because that's how the system taught us. Anything that makes people think is a lie, it's not allowed. It's crazy. It's nuts. Guys, these individuals who experience what is often termed schizophrenia, they are truly brilliant minds. They are indeed geniuses. Some particular areas of medical science possess the profound knowledge of how to enable them to effectively operate within both realities, our own reality and their unique reality. However, most other areas, even though they are fully aware of this potential, are regrettably compelled to administer very heavy medication to essentially dope these incredibly gifted people up, primarily because they simply do not desire another extraordinary genius to be present and thriving in society. Nikola Tesla was enough, Thomas Edison was enough, Einstein and all the rest, okay? That's enough. Now, the geniuses will be chosen by us, controlled by us. So, folks, these so-called schizophrenic people, they're people whose brain activity is above 70 hertz. They're geniuses. They face all realities. They have a perception way beyond ours. These polarities, these modulating waves, they interfere with our sensory system. We are them, they're in us, and we're in them. Connects everything. It's a network. There's no way around it. The closest thing to these modulating waves is quantum physics, which is just starting to make progress. These modulating waves, folks, they're everywhere. And the best part is we have the fuel to control these waves and make them work for us, or mutually speaking, both ways. Yeah, we just talked here about the highest frequency. The greatest emotion a human being can feel is what? Anger, hate, love, sex, orgasm, joy, sadness. What's the greatest, the strongest force, the strongest feeling? I mean, the strongest emotion a human being can feel? The anger, joy, orgasm, love. But isn't the peak of orgasm stronger than all the love put together? Right? So, folks, and there are people who don't feel it. So, like, this needs to be balanced out. That's why the sexologist gave those recommendations, folks. This makes a person sick in every way, in their soul, in their satisfaction, in their calm, in their peace, in their hormonal balance, in everything. But look, about the fuel, is it sex that's the fuel for modulating these waves? No. Emotions. The stronger the emotion, as long as it's balanced, the more you can manipulate these laws in your favor. They're laws, they're forces of nature. And it adjusts the patterns of nature. What is a pattern of nature? Our instincts, supposedly primitive, we've learned to think our instincts are primitive and that everyone is born with a certain pattern. For example, a kitten. How does it know that when it does its business, it has to scratch, grab some dirt, and cover it up? Who taught it that? Its mother? And who taught its mother? Okay, so on and so forth. And the same goes for turtles. How does a baby turtle, when it hatches on the sand, know it has to go to the sea? These patterns, these instincts, supposedly extinct, these patterns are everywhere. They're in us. But in us, they're blocked by the system, by what we've been taught, right? And what breaks through that block? Emotion. controlled emotion, strong emotion, intention, desire. Sexual? No, any very strong desire transmuted, converted into a positive frequency, into the frequency of what you want. So guys, it was through this with a lot of struggle, especially when we got hit with criticism from the global ufology community, like, oh, that's a lie, that's impossible, you can't be saying that. Yeah, but we didn't stop. We kept talking about global ufology, about these things, because through these sightings that happen all over the planet, we discovered things, things that are extraordinary for human life, you know? And so how to balance all of this, our whole biological side for women, for men, everything that was talked about here in the lectures, right? All of that, you know, this issue, right? About the speaker Carlos Magno talked about all of it. Guys, all this matter of spirituality, everything is connected. Okay. We only know the physical world through the five senses, which are indirectly made available to us. The five senses, what are they? Touch, smell, taste, hearing. Okay. And the sixth and the, what else? Guys, this thing I mentioned, our desires do come true. When I said, like, I'll never work as an employee again, I'll never be anyone's worker again. I'm not going to stop working. No, it's just that the world needs to move forward, and so do I. But I'm not going to be a slave to the system, because I need to think, I need to research, I need time to discover who I am, who we are, what's out there, right? Okay, guys, all of you have this question, all of you have this desire. And so, did it come true? No, because the system forces us to work, eat, drink, dress, then come the kids, college, and everything else, bills to pay. Then you don't have time to, you know, discover yourself, to get to know yourself and the universes. Then when you reach a certain age, 70, 60 years old, you retire and you think, well, now I have time. There's nothing, then come the kids, grandkids, nothing. And the system forces you to throw birthday parties, parties for this, parties for that. So you don't have time to think, because there are grandkids to take care of. There are kids, folks, all of us, we're all like this, caught in a spider's web, all of us. Every month there's something where we have to give someone a gift: birthday, Valentine's Day, Father's Day, Mother's Day, Daughter's Day, this day, that day, Saints Day, All Saints Day. Yeah, everything is invented to take up your time, make you spend your money, get you caught up in consumerism, and have these fake family gatherings, blah, 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 with everyone bad-mouthing each other afterwards, right? Oh, Christmas, oh, New Year's, that person's birthday. Guys, it's all nonsense created by the system to confuse us, to keep us from thinking. And it even stirs up trouble, because there's going to be alcohol there, and lots of people end up fighting and arguing, talking bad about each other. Oh, so and so was dressed like this, so and so had their hair straightened, you know, and so on. So what should we be then? A square, a stick in the mud? No, we need to have our social life. Guys, I have my social life, and I have a great time, but not in a conditioned way. I've opened my mind here. I don't want that anymore. Okay, but that's a long story. Yeah, thinking about that. Yeah, I'm already getting to the end here. Thinking about that, we decided to create our own system. We decided to create our own place, our own home. We decided to create our own technology to look at the sky and what's out there beyond, since they lie to us, since they don't tell the truth, right? And another thing, there was a study about the convex Earth. I think most of you must have watched it. And if you haven't, just type convex Earth, the documentary, and you'll find it, okay? Yeah, we had engineers and participants from and professionals from other fields as well, physicists, astronomers, and all, who took part in the experiments. And we proved that the Earth is not round at all, okay? And in no way at all. Does anyone here still believe it's round? So just let me ask a question. Well, if it's round, Dante, I'll give you $1 million of reis or dollars or euros right now. If you still believe it's round, if you tilt a ball 20 degrees, 30 degrees, 40 degrees, if you can tilt a ball, I'll admit the Earth is round. Isn't that right? Can anyone tilt a ball? Oh, but there's an imaginary axis. An imaginary axis, it's imaginary, it's a lie, it doesn't exist. Oh, but the axe, so what? So, okay, let's stick a rod into the Earth, into the round globe right there. Bend it, I want to see if the sphere will stay tilted. Oh no, the axis got tilted. The axis got tilted, not the sphere. You can't tilt a sphere. You can't bend the planet. And another thing, one more contradiction in physics. Do you know which is the largest physical state? The physical behavior of water? To seek leveling, right? The pH, the physical state of water, the physical behavior of water is to seek leveling. If you pour a glass of water here on the floor, it will spread out on the floor. If you pour a glass of water on top of a ball, it won't follow the ball, it will seek leveling. Why do they build large dams? They meticulously level the dam, right? They carefully remove the people who are living in the surrounding areas, you know, so they absolutely don't get flooded, okay, because the dam is leveled, it doesn't follow the natural curvature of the Earth, okay, folks? So yeah, the laser already at 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers, 300 kilometers, we had to make our own laser because the most powerful one we could buy was from China, and when it arrived at customs, it didn't get through because it reached 300 kilometers. It didn't get through. So that's why we built more. So guys, like, we have an intellectual limitation conditioned by the system to not think, no, that's just a bunch of nonsense. The earth is round, yes, because it's in the book, it's scientific fact. Guys, scientists are limited too. They have a certain limitation and authorization to say what should be said. Okay. So if we just sit at home repeating what's in the books, where's the evolution? Where's your own experience, right? So the question of reincarnation, right? What is reincarnation, guys? Evolution. Oh, I've reincarnated twice, 10 times, and you've reincarnated 20 times. So who's more evolved, me or you? And what about the one who reincarnated 100 times? Guys, reincarnation is like failing a test. It means we didn't pass the exam. If you reincarnate, it's because you have to learn again. You have to know you didn't pass. We have to go further, another 100 years, 200 years, another 10 reincarnations, right? So here's the thing, yeah, and it's out there. I put it on the internet, and it's still up to this day. 100,000 reis, 200,000, a million reis for anyone who can tilt a ball. 100,000 reis for anyone who can prove that water isn't level, that it actually follows a curve. Okay, 100,000, no, not 100,000, a million, right? So guys, to this day, no one in the whole world has managed to refute it. Okay, so it's obvious, it's simple, it's really simple. Okay, so it was in search of this knowledge that we set up over in Mato Grosso do Sul. This here is a digital model, but you'll see the real thing. We've already built this. Look, all these houses, everything, and we've started the pyramid. Oh, a pyramid. So now you guys are going to turn mystical? No. This pyramid isn't for mysticism, for worshiping the pyramid. Guys, this is for studies, electromagnetic studies, quantum studies, research on the 0.3 hertz frequency, 3 cycles per second. All its measurements, the symmetry follows universal mathematics. Okay, it's not for decoration, not to draw attention, no. It's for research. We made the smaller one here, it's already finished, okay? And the houses as well. And another thing, with all of this, we already have our own system. You can go ahead. We have our own economic system. It already works among us. We are an association with 4,500 residents, and with members from other categories, it reaches 9 million spread all over the planet. We have to go to 14 states in Brazil, practically all of them, almost, and we have at least about 20 countries plus our headquarters there, okay? In all of them, they're already using this golden bonus, our own economy. Why? Because I don't want to keep waiting for my end of the month salary to pay the bills. Because I don't want to be dependent my whole life. We don't want that, folks. We want to get out of the system, okay? Oh, but how do you get out of the system? Well, this is a start. At least we try to grow as much of our own food as possible, our own food. Non-GMO seeds, nothing canned, nothing processed, so we don't get a belly, so we don't have problems, you know, neurological and all that, okay? So, folks, our diet is as healthy as possible. It can't be 100%, but we manage about 70%, yes. Drugs, anything that alters a human being's state of consciousness, we don't want that either. No drugs, no cigarettes, no alcohol, nothing like that. Man, what a boring life. No beer? There is beer, yes. Every now and then, we do have a little beer, okay? We're not squares, right? We try to do our best to maintain perfect health, you know? And look, it's already in several cities across Brazil, okay? It really boosts the economy. The money ends up staying more within the city itself, all right? And there's more left over. So your salary lasts until the end of the month because this here replaces, well, part of the exchange of money for goods. I won't explain further because of time, but it already exists. It's a reality, okay? You can. Yeah, since you mentioned MDPL, right, we have our own sports and health program. Here, folks, people who are 70, 80, even 100 years old play, okay? People who used to be in a wheelchair, today they're already playing soccer. Oh, is it a miracle? No, over the years, we've had many, many discoveries in the medical field, in genetics, in nutrition, right? In this case, we have a lot of nutritionists, geneticists, and so on, and we keep discovering better foods, the ones that are good for us, okay? And so there are people who are 70, 80 years old playing soccer, socializing. There are women who were already in menopause who started menstruating again, and many, many of them. And some one or two have even gotten pregnant, right, already. They went back to living their normal lives. I mean, folks, it's a rejuvenation, a generally better quality of life. That's why I talk about the possibility of not dying right now. Let's keep going until one day we discover something more. You can. No, go ahead, you can go. You can go to the next one. Okay, this one is a city discovered in Mato Grosso do Sul, right at the junction of the Aquidauana and Taboco rivers. Nobody knew about it. Where are our archaeologists from all over Brazil, right? When we took it to IFIN, They said, shut up or we'll arrest you. You can't let this get out to the media. Then we discovered a city in the Amazon. We notified IFIN, and they said, if you talk about this, you'll be arrested. You can't let this get out to the media. And then another city in Rondônia, Costa Marques, and like that in several parts of Brazil. We found monuments more elaborate than those constructions in Peru, in Egypt, and so on. Guys, here in Brazil, there's the Forte Príncipe de Beira over in Costa Marques. We discovered that place. The army was in charge, and we asked Commander Sandro at the time, hey, can you let us in to take a look around? He said, well, as far as IFIN allows, yes, you can take photos. Okay, but you can't dig. All right, we found a tunnel in the middle. We showed it to the commander. Wow, the soldiers had never seen this. We went into the tunnel, right? We discovered ruins of ancient cities and all sorts of things. Then we found a lot of things, including gold artifacts. When we brought it to IFIN's attention, they said, everyone out. We'll arrest you if you keep up this research. IFIN here in Brazil. Then we met some archaeologists, right, including an article by Denise Chama, a Brazilian archaeologist, who went through the same thing we did. Oh, you can't talk about it, keep quiet, shut up and just keep it to yourself, that sort of thing. And talking to several archaeologists in Brazil, we found out that some time ago, there were political agreements, maneuvering, information exchanges, and so on. Yeah, here in Brazil, folks, the archaeological situation is on another level. Everything you've seen from Greece, Turkey, Egypt, and all that, here in Brazil, we have way more, much more than that. But IFIN is a corporation run by foreigners. It's not really Brazilian. The ones in charge are big corporations. So why do we have to keep quiet? If they find out, if the world learns that this is the cradle of everything, that here we have constructions way more sophisticated than over there, I mean, the whole world would come here. Then the tourist revenue over there dries up. Brazilians won't spend anymore. The whole world won't spend in Greece, Turkey, and so on with their, their attractions, cathedrals, and all that. So folks, yeah, all of this has been discovered, and we are definitely going to spread the word. To hell with IFIN, to hell with anyone who doesn't like it. We are going to spread the word, yes, because we have nothing to hide. We don't get money from the government. We have our own money, so we will get this information out. If they come after us, that's their problem. We'll find a way to get the word out because the whole world already knows. All the information we have is spread out, fragmented in every corner of the world, right? If there even are corners, right? If the world even has corners, So, folks, everything we've discovered, we've divided and shared among our people here and abroad. Exactly, so that if they kill me, if they kill you, or a B or C, the information is still going to get out, whether they like it or not. There's no point in trying to kill us. It won't work anymore. It won't solve anything, okay? Oh, let's arrest them. Let's shut them up. Well, you're going to have to arrest a whole bunch of people, 9 million people. So that's just how it is. Unfortunately, that's how it is in Brazil. In exchange for what? Shut up. Don't reveal that there's a much more complex civilization here than in the rest of the world, because otherwise we won't buy your coffee anymore. That's the stupid deal. It's the dumbest agreement I've ever seen in my life. Okay. Political maneuvering, politics of the time, not revealing a treasure of Brazil, right? Do not disclose. You can go. There, St. Michael of the Missions. From there, we started everything. There we go in here, more or less in this region here. There is concrete ballast that has been sealed since the exploration of Brazil when the Spanish, when the colonizers arrived, right? And we managed to break that seal with an agreement between some people there. Go inside a little bit to see. Guys, it's absurd, let's say a real arsenal of artifacts, of knowledge, everything. Okay. Does anyone else let me in there? Go there and see if not even the city hall knows about this anymore. Go there if municipal and state laws allow you to enter. It doesn't let me. Porto Alegre, Rio Grande do Sul. And right next to it is São Miguel dos Missos. From the missions, you go to Paraguay, Uruguay, then Argentina, Brazil, Bolivia, everywhere. From there, we found the map that led us to the fort of Corumbá. Fort of Coimbra, Corumbá. When we arrived at the fort of Corumbá, they directed us to the Aldeia dos Limos in Mato Grosso do Sul. In the Aldeia dos Limos, we found another STO, another stone that directed us to the Forte Príncipe de Beira in Costa Marques. From the Forte Príncipe de Beira in Costa Marques, here is the Aldeia dos Limos, this right here, folks, this church, if you can go back there, this recent construction, the foundation is original for 450,000 years, the original foundation. Yeah, they destroyed it and built a church to disguise it, okay? The Lemon village of Mato Grosso do Sul. I was there, I talked to all the chiefs and so on, and then we had access to a lot of things there. And we also have an organization here that takes care of the Indians. What's the name? Kabama, right? Fune. There are some limitations, but but like the chiefs and shamans were so encouraged to drink kachaka that with a bottle of kachaka, you can get whatever you want in there. Guys, it's outrageous what they did to the indigenous people, outrageous what they did to our Brazilian wealth. Okay, go ahead. Here is the Forte do Principe de Beira, this fort here that we researched, guys, right in the middle here. I'm without the laser pointer, right in the center where we discovered an opening 76 by 76, and we went inside and found an entire world down there. Okay. Gold caches, yeah, artifacts, sorry, like nothing cataloged, okay? A lot of things. And here is the Madeira River. This tunnel, as it goes down here, it comes out under the Madeira River, comes out in Bolivia. The border is Bolivia right there. And the other one, to the right, comes out 100 kilometers away in Serra dos Reis. We researched all of that. We came out from underground and arrived there. We showed it to IFIN, and they said, no, you can't go in there anymore. We developed tourism in this region. We really did. We spent money there, developed tourism, helped the people, the farmers, helped the community, the fish cooperative there, to reorganize and make a living from tourism. When we developed tourism, IFIN came over and said, no, you can't. Now we're going to take over here. Yeah, they searched everything and still found 42,000 artifacts. 42,000 artifacts. You can look it up, Forte Principe de Beira in Brazil, Rondônia. Check out the artifacts. See if you can find a photo of an artifact. They don't show it, folks. They hide it because it's a non-Brazilian corporation. It goes abroad. All of this is going abroad. It's not just our timber. It's everything. Do you think it's Brazilians who are doing the deforestation? It's not Brazilians doing the deforestation, no. We experienced this there for 10 years. It's foreigners who are deforesting the Amazon. Then they come and say that Brazil is the one deforesting. It's them doing it, okay? It's not us, no. Go ahead. Go ahead. So the entrance folks, is right here. Look, they tried to cover it with grass. We found it there because we used other techniques, right? And then the tunnels that go on forever. We used a laser stick that reaches 300 kilometers, and it still didn't reach the end of this tunnel. Okay, go ahead. There are also its ruins, right? The forts. Later, when he got there, Marshal Rondon occupied the fort, cleaned it up, and left guards there for a while. That's why the army still looks after this fort to this day. You can go on. Now, Riachuelo, which tells the story of man. Dear folks, this tells how to make a human being. I won't go into detail because of time, okay? Are these cave paintings? No, they're petroglyphs, right? Yeah, drawn on rocks, okay. And here, look, the human uterus. Here are the makers of the human being and so on. You can go on. And in the city of Riachuelo, Rondônia, actually Presidente Medici, right? So all of this, look, are discoveries, right? The artifacts we found with the help of the army as well. Whenever we go, the army accompanies us, okay, because the Amazon is very complicated, so you have to partner up with the military. Go ahead, go ahead. There are the soldiers helping us, right? This is Commander Sandro. Go on. All right? So like in Brazil, we have the greatest wealth and powerful minds, big corporations trample over Brazilians. Okay, folks, that's the reality, all right? Unfortunately, we had to present this in the most painful bitterness, let's put it that way, knowing that we are subject to corporations from abroad. Well, so we have our own food we plant, right? We harvest to eat as healthily as possible without GMOs. So we have our own seed bank, and now we're developing in Criguinho, Mato Grosso do Sul, our laboratory for the biosystem, yeah, with Beerverse technology, okay, to bring food back to its purest form. Go ahead. Our astronomical observatory there, this observatory here, this one, yeah, the telescope, it has parallel mirrors, which is a technology, well, not widely known. It was developed by, let's put it this way, it was our own discovery, and you can see the background sky, you can see many things beyond. So just to make you curious, if anyone has a telescope at home, any small telescope, you'll be able to see Saturn and its rings. Saturn and its rings. Yeah, you'll see the big lie. I'll explain how you're going to find that out. Well, if the sun is so big, yeah, then Saturn, of course, is smaller than the sun and all that, right? So you'll have the planet and the rings, right, which are even kind of tilted depending on the position. So if the sun is shining on Saturn here, there should be a shadow on the other side. Shouldn't there be a shadow on the other side? Exactly. We looked for a shadow on Saturn and its rings day after day after day, and we never found one. So that means it's not the sun that's lighting up Saturn, okay? And then we zoomed in and zoomed in and zoomed in even more. Guys, it's just a bunch of lies. So what did we do? Guys, something's not right. Let's search every quadrant of the Earth. We went to Iceland, Africa, all over South America. We did it Bolivia, Peru, Brazil, and so on. And we measured distance, size, projection, right? So look, it really seems like we're living in a lie. Or maybe science just doesn't know, since the technology only came about recently, right? Because the scientists back then who said the Earth was round, at most, what did they have? Did they have telescopes? No. Did they have compasses? No. Did they have GPS? So how did they come to the conclusion that the Earth is round? And even today, our scientists just swallow that theory. Okay. So yeah, today we have tons of technology. We have GPS. Oh, but GPS, everything follows the round shape. If you program it, like if you set up a round, a square, or a triangle, the GPS will follow whatever you put in. The devices will just make corrections to get where you want to go. That's how it works today. Aviation, for example, it could be a straight line from here to Australia, I don't know, 6-7 hours of flight. No, you have to go all the way around to who knows where. How does it go? That's what they say, right? What's the saying? You have to go all the way around somewhere to supposedly refuel, spend a night at a nice hotel, spend all your money, and only then continue on to Australia. And it's the same with other countries. It's all just a scheme for consumerism. The thing is, they do this, they leave the Australia route just to come back to Australia, so they travel twice the distance, right? And the return trip is the same thing. So guys, it's a pile of lies. And another thing, if there's any pilot out there, correct me if I'm wrong. We've done these measurements at every possible point. A plane, to follow the curvature of the Earth, it would have to descend 14 meters per second to keep up with the Earth's curvature at 900 kilometers per hour. All of you have flown before, you know this. Have you ever seen the plane dip its nose at any point to follow the curvature? Guys, it would have to go down 14 meters per second to keep up with the Earth's curvature. We would be in constant descent, okay, to keep up at 900 kilometers per hour, and at 1,000 kilometers, even more so. So look at the big lie. Yeah, well, now we've reached cruising level. Just going to level off up ahead, then dip the nose to descend again. So, guys, with the telescope and other tools, we've discovered amazing things. There's not enough to talk about everything, okay? But anyway, I'll leave it at that for you, all right? The observatory is at your disposal, along with the whole technology center, the processing center, meteorology, and everything else. For anyone who wants to visit or follow along, in Mato Grosso do Sul, we have our own economic system. We're not 100% dependent on the world economy, the global system. We want to get out of that, and, well, we help each other out. This thing is, look, we try to help as much as we possibly can, but if someone just gets lazy and sits around waiting for the money to come, we're not going to help. We do help, but the person has to find themselves to help themselves too. They have to get moving and prosper. Prayer, it's the hour of action. Isn't it about acting? It's not about just sitting there praying, no. So if someone comes to the group and says, hey, I want to be here and all, but my financial difficulties are just too much, then the group helps out. But if they see that the person is just here, taking advantage of the situation, they stop helping too. But if the person makes an effort and works hard, everyone helps each other. Okay? Guys, we're one big family. There's no fighting at all. Or is there? Do families fight? No way, just imagine. We're one big family. We try to help each other, spread this to the world. And we're already in Paraguay, Brazil. We went to France. We went to Dara, right, in Turkey. And we're making connections and mixing knowledge, information, and friendship with everyone. Guys, that's our focus. Okay? To free ourselves from the system, have time to think, and extend our lives as much as possible. The little cocktail, so you don't die from cancer, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and other diseases, is nothing more than just supplementing with magnesium, sulfur, phosphorus, and ethanolamine, which pretty much cures everything, right? And rejuvenates phosphatidylethanolamine. It's used in the United States for beauty to keep the skin young, especially for women, right, folks? So guys, and don't eat foods like pasta, fatty stuff, fried foods, okay? There's fish, there are greens, vegetables, meat. You can eat those as much as you want, all right? So avoid pasta, noodles, all those things that turn into sugar, and sugar wrecks everything, right? And besides that, there's also been a discovery about telomeres, which is something new for us here. So that's another thing, another point. You can look it up. There's information out there that can really help, okay? But just to wrap up here regarding, there's nothing else. All right, the last one. This was the model we arrived at for Earth. Why did we arrive at this? We carried out an assessment at every point on Earth with scientists, along with us, other professionals, people from INCA, right? Precisely so no one could say that we made up the measurements or rigged the results, okay? And by launching a weather probe, we discovered a new continent. a section of ice, and another new continent about the size of Australia, more or less. Okay, folks? Yeah, towards the north, which is why we're calling it Greater North. And also, yeah, we discovered that Saturn, Pluto, all the planets, the sun and moon, they all have just one path. The sun and moon move together. They don't follow any other path besides that, as has already been explained, even about the solar analemma, right? Did you know that the stars have 9 different rotations? If you keep looking at the sky, it seems like that's all that passes by, doesn't it? But that's not the case, folks. Anyone here who's a photographer and knows how to take long exposure photos at night, at least for about 4 hours preferably, you'll see that there are other skies, other celestial bodies, or something up there that they haven't told us about. There are a lot of things up there that they haven't told us about, okay? And here's the thing, you can also see that the Earth doesn't move at all, it doesn't spin, it's completely still. What moves are the other things up there. So now we know what it is, we figured it out, and we're going to share it with the world. Soon after this documentary here, we have the support of at least about 25,000 professionals in the fields of astrophysics, physics, geology from all over the world, okay? Including from Brazil. Guys, we're not alone anymore. Before, we made the documentary by ourselves. Some people used to laugh in our faces. A lot of people didn't even want to do it. They didn't even want to show up in the documentary. No, I'm not giving an interview. They'll call me crazy. Just imagine. Most people did that. And the more open-minded ones, right, the ones who aren't intellectually limited by the system, decided to take on the challenge. Okay. We're really grateful, to Mauro Dias, Paulo Parra, the scientists who joined us and had the courage to put their careers on the line, right? Because at a time when everyone was saying it was crazy and all that, they went there to check out the experiments to see if it was really true, if it was possible, okay? So guys, that's the message I want to leave here. We know about entanglement, about this energy that connects everything, and that our thoughts can be polarized, either positive or negative. And I can achieve anything. Everything I wanted to accomplish in life, I did. And I want so much more. What I've done so far is really nothing yet, okay? So when all the problems we've had, all the difficulties, people against us, people feeling, how do you say it? Financially harmed by selling magazines that talked about UFOs, suddenly we came out and said that UFOs are actually the complete opposite, that they're not those evil tentacled creatures like they're shown in the movies. These people felt financially hurt because their what do you call it? Their gatherings, right, stopped being packed. Yeah, they started to go after us. But before that, they came and offered $18,000 a month for us to stop talking, to not say anything else about ufology. $18,000 a month 20 years ago was a lot of money for me to accept, right? I wouldn't have needed to work or do anything else. All I had to do was keep quiet, never talk about ufology again, and just do other things. Guys, look, money isn't everything, power isn't everything. Our life is kind of crappy. At the same time that we are a perfect machine, we're also just a speck, In a second, an artery bursts here, and there goes my life, right? There goes a stroke, there goes the heart. That's why we really seek through studies, technology, biotechnology, and food to find out what harms humans. We closely follow the research of other professionals in the field to have the healthiest diet possible, to prolong our lives as much as we can, and maybe even turn things around in that regard. And yes, we've already managed to prolong it, okay? To prolong it, if you ever go there to the group, if you've never been, you'll notice the change, okay, in people, in everything. But here's my message. Don't be just another person with a mind limited by the system. Keep an open mind. There are people who, when you talk about something different or controversial, they start laughing in your face, start making jokes, that kind of thing. These are the most limited people in the system, folks. They don't understand. They can't keep up. Why didn't they laugh? They're professionals in the exact sciences. Why didn't they laugh and criticize? Oh, that's nonsense. It's not going to lead anywhere. No, they have an open mind. They're not stuck in the pattern of intellectual feeding. They're not ignorant of the system, okay? They went out into the field and said, no, let's see if it is. If it's round, we'll say it's round. If it's not, we'll say it's not. And the result was that it's not round. There's no curvature. But to get away with it, they had very serious problems with their colleagues at work. Wow, you're going to put your professional career at risk because of a documentary? Guys, that's how change happens. Science shows its mistakes all the time. Science is constantly correcting itself. No, it used to be this way, now it's that way. Eggs used to cause cholesterol, now they don't anymore. I mean, they don't agree among themselves, but they keep correcting things. But there's one thing. When it comes to the intellectual side, the part that frees people, that's something they can't touch. Which is this part? Because what does this part lead to? To awareness, to perception, to understanding of everything. And another thing, just to wrap up this topic here, I mentioned that I attended several religions. I went to all the ones I could, okay? And the Catholic Church has one God, the Assembly has another God, and so on and so on. I mean, they each give a name, right? They have their own regulations, their own rules, but all of them are searching for God. Then there's a God that's created by men, that God who punishes, who mistreats. If you don't have faith, if you don't believe in me, I'll punish you, you'll lose your things, and so on. Man, that's an evil God, huh? Pretty nasty, really selfish, right? And it seems like there's something beyond all of that, something superior to it all. That something more is the voice inside your head. It's that intuition that Castro talked about. The voice told me to make a machine, so I made a machine. The voice guided me to make a grinding wheel, right, for spinning, and I made it. And he wasn't a scientist. He wasn't a scientist or anything. He just followed the knowledge that's available to all of us, okay? So this knowledge, this energy, this higher frequency, that's what we can really call God, the supreme energy, okay? Not the God created by men. Guys, everyone creates their own. I love all the legions. I've been to all of them and all, but like when I told you, there came a point when I said, so what now? And after that, then there was nothing else, you know? That's why I went searching for, you know, the higher frequency itself, okay? And this energy, we still don't quite know how it works, but it controls everything and everyone. Positive thoughts, negative thoughts. We polarize our thoughts, we create our own results. If your life is a mess, it's because you polarized it to be a mess. If your life is good, it's because you polarized it to be good, right? And it's the same with health, with your love life, with everything. And don't forget, the biggest fuel to control the laws of those 3 cycles per second is what? Strong, intense emotion, desire, focus, you know, determination. Okay? So that's it. Actually, I kind of got a little off topic, right? Since the focus was supposed to be the Earth system and all that, and we ended up talking about a bunch of things, right? And including the Earth system, but not in its entirety. But that's it, folks. Yeah, I think I was paying attention, you know, to the other colleagues' talks too, to how people were behaving, and I decided to make a mix of everything. Okay, to really wrap things up with, let's say, a different kind of understanding. It's about giving the idea of breaking free from the standard system, from the global system, and not letting ourselves be conditioned and influenced by everything anymore. Drink Coca-Cola, I'll drink it. Jump the fence, I'll do it. Why do people commit mass suicide? Induction through games, right? So here's a tip for you all. The strongest emotions, intensity, focused, and directed thought, okay? And know that everything is interconnected, okay? And your auras, your energies don't appear. All right, thanks a lot.